Call the meeting to order then. The St. Patty's Day version of the Traffic Advisory Commission. I know you have Susan has a deadline, so we're gonna try to be efficient with our time tonight. I'll do roll call. Clark Battalian's here. Susan Centerman.
Here.
Harry Falkenrath.
Here.
Kevin Randich. Here. Chris Redford.
Here.
Derek Tillman.
Here.
Rob Wagner. Here. And Jason said he was gonna be maybe 10 or 15 minutes late, so he's probably gonna walk in a minute. So looks like we have a quorum and a full house. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from last month? And Aaron, I wanted to compliment you. Your minutes are awesome. You do a great job on that. I just never see anything. Yeah, that's all right. I really appreciate it. So now that I said that, does anyone see any problems with the minutes from you weren't here last month? But do I hear a motion to approve last month's minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Right. Excellent. Each month we read our 2024-25 goals. I will read those now. Number one, we use safety as our guiding principle. Propose recommendations that are unbiased, transparent, and administered fairly. We're an active partner to the SS4A task force. We are working to develop programs, introduce complete street concepts for residents, employees, and city employees and employers. We have streamlined our meeting agendas and conduct regular monthly meetings and finalized our process plan for capturing, evaluating, and communicating back to citizen requests. I think that's an aspiration. Anybody online? I don't see Mr. Buck here tonight, so I don't see if there's any public comments. Is anybody online there, Eric?
Just there.
All right. So speaking of Eric, we will move to let's see if there's any update for the SS4A task force.
Yeah, so last meeting we talked, and we had just come off the meeting, and we sent out that email. Our subcommittee met last week and came out of that saying we would go meet with, or I would reach out to your contact at TrailNet, which I did. And I guess everyone saw the email I sent following the SS4A. So that it was kind of what we have is we're trying to decide, do we try and tie in our community outreach effort with SS4A, or do we keep it separate? SS4A I think is potentially open to it, but also a little cautious because they don't want us muddying their message.
Absolutely.
And I think, the more we talked about it, I think we want to probably not tie ourselves into theirs. We want to do community outreach and then purposely keep it separate from SS4A, but then give them an opportunity to tie in at the end if they want to come and actually speak about it. I think that's kind of what we had discussed. So anyhow, I reached out, spoke last week to Corinne Austin at TrailNet. How do I share my? I'm used to Zoom. I'm used to Teams.
Bottom, middle, green.
Share
There
it.
it is. It's like without seeing it, I have no idea. Without looking at the screen.
I promoted your panel, so you should be able to
See. Okay,
Oh,
right,
here,
yep,
share
yep.
that with them.
If you go back to the Zoom.
There
Oh, no,
you
you got it. You're good.
Okay, so here's the email she sent me now.
So hey, Eric, before you read this, that's sort of our educational subcommittee report also. So I think we're combining both. Is there anything else with SS4A that we should be aware of besides this educational?
No, the SS4A March meeting is Thursday, so there hasn't been any updates since
Gotcha.
since the last email.
Okay,
Um,
sorry to interrupt.
I think we can talk about SS4A more generally after this, but so bottom line, we re-engaged with them. Now, I had re-engaged her. I said, hey, she remembered talking to you, Clark. Though her email, I guess what I want us to discuss is I told her we had a $2,000 budget for 4 events, and we want to do you know, potentially we could fit it up to 2 events, maybe we could talk about combining them or whatever. Well, she came back with she's wanting to do a $2,000 lump sum deal here through, you know, for an event in whenever, and I'll email this to everyone. But bottom line, I think this is what we need to talk about. Do we want to do this? Does TAC want to do a community outreach with TrailNet? And if so, do we want to handle it different terms or?
So I would like to, there might be background here, but this committee, this education subcommittee has sort of taken it on faith that TrailNet is a good partner for doing communications. But I don't know that as a group lately, we've kind of talked about, well, what are they going to say? And is it really super close to what we want? Or are they taking over something? Or are we just giving them a platform without it being our direction? And I don't know. She didn't give an agenda yet.
No, she did tell me, this is more of a general proposal. She said, I guess they were traveling last week. They were at a conference, people who would be putting that together. She said I'd be getting another email kind of outlining some of more what they would be talking about. She did say, you know, I kind of described my understanding what they're gonna talk about, the complete streets, multimodal, and she said that's exactly what they do.
Okay. Well, so my point to us is that in line with what we want? Obviously, it costs some money. So, you know, is it really where we want to go? I don't personally see a reason it isn't, but any thoughts?
I think to put on an event before before our fiscal year budget expires, which is July 1st, we don't have any other choice because we're not gonna have time to.
Well, it's this, or, I mean, nothing is an option. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
nothing is definitely an option.
not wasting money, just, you
Yeah.
know, but
I can tell you what TrailNet does is advocacy work. They've been doing this for a decade. Advocacy is what they do. So, and knowing how to speak with communities and kind of give this kind of message,
What,
is exactly kind of what they've been doing. So I think especially given the time constraints, but I think they're a really good option. If anything, they were kind of deemed early on for being a little too pushing advocacy too much, which I think they backed off of that a little. I mean, and I'm only saying that because like that's the worst thing you can say about, you know, that I'm aware of about TrailNet. So
let me ask you something. When I was on their website, most of what I was reading was like them. I got the impression that maybe they were targeting at least what they were saying on their website more towards like they would come to us at TAC, talk to us and empower us to do our jobs better for the community. I didn't see a lot about them doing direct community outreach. Now, she said they do that a lot.
they do.
Okay,
They do. They're really kind of famous, popular for setting up these demonstration
Okay.
projects, which is what, you know, we're doing through SS4 right
and she was familiar with this.
Yeah,
too.
TrailNet will come out, they come out and do that in partnership with a lot of communities. And they do a really good job, to be honest, with the demonstration projects, so.
I guess I share the observation that we don't really know what we're gonna hear. And I would feel very uncomfortable going into this, not knowing what they're gonna tell.
well, notice that 2 45-minute meetings with you
Okay,
and us, right? I mean, so
Okay.
it's not without us by any means.
okay,
I'd like to see them give us a preliminary agenda,
yeah, that's
you know, a
exactly,
skeleton
yeah.
that then we're helping them make better. But it doesn't sound like they're not that,
Uh-huh.
right? It feels like they're right in line with that potential.
Yeah, I think, I was assuming those 45-minute meetings are us to kind of get an idea of what we want, the message we're trying to give, and then how they would relay it, and
Okay, well,
then to
that's,
fine tune it.
that satisfies me.
No, that's a great point.
And why, so what, my eyes aren't working properly today.
It's kind of hard to read, yeah.
But I'm wondering, do we need 2, but what does the meeting 1 say and what does that meeting 2 say?
Meeting 1, discuss and agree on the goals of the workshop and definition of success. Finalize fuzzy details in the scope of work. Meeting 2 would be finalize workshop logistics, timeline, roles, talking points, and activities.
So I think meeting 1, they're gonna feel out what we want.
Okay.
And then they're gonna create a presentation based on what we discussed in that meeting. Meeting 2, they're gonna come give us the rundown of exactly what they're gonna be presenting. Assuming we're happy with it, at that point, we would give them the green light for the actual event, the 60 to 90-minute open house workshop, which they're targeting for May 25.
So this $2,000 or $2,600, whatever coming up with here. It feels like it might actually be an investment that if we wanted them to come back, well, it has continuing value. I don't want to call it an investment, because if they might talk to us in the coming year again with more workshops, they've already done the pre-work.
Mhm.
And maybe we could actually get a number of these workshops with the public without, $2,600 per year. I can't say that for sure, but it sounds like that from what they've written.
I think so, because in theory, you might be able to shorten or cut out the first two meetings with the TAC, once you've established the guidelines, if they have, I would think that you can do it for cheaper.
Maybe $500 a meeting or $400 or
And
something.
maybe that, because like I said, I wasn't negotiating with her. I said, here's my understanding of what we had talked about, and she came back this, maybe I should have negotiated because she's going for the full amount, but if that's, I don't think that's if they're truly meeting us, they're essentially coming here 3 different times, spending time developing a presentation. I don't think that's crazy.
Well, and they knocked $600 off of it as I read it. They're saying it would be $2,600, but
Yeah.
we'll only charge you $2,000. Again, I'm not being loose with our money, but I mean,
And that includes the 2 45-minute meetings, right?
Right.
So I'm wondering if that timeline's too aggressive.
Well, we have we basically on that timeline, we have a month to extend it because everything's gotta be done before July 1.
And if you think too about 26 hours, which I just did a really quick scope here and I came up with 23 hours, so I don't think 26 is off base. But at 26 hours, in theory, the time between meeting 1 and 2 they're gonna spend 8 hours, 16 tops, somewhere in there, which is, you can do that in a week, which they obviously would have to work that into what else they're doing, but I think given the amount of hours, it's doable as long as they think it is.
presumably they looked at their calendar because they put down specifics.
And I'll forward this email to everyone so everyone's got the details in front of them.
So Chief, I don't know if you know the answer to this or not. I feel like if you all have, or Sohan, you might, if you all have a contract in place with them and the event happens in the next fiscal year, you could still charge it against this fiscal year, as long as the contract is in place.
So as the
So
payment,
that helps you a
if
little
the
bit.
payment goes in
Yeah.
advance of the budget.
So we would just have to pay them by.
Yes.
What, did they have a target time in there for their workshop?
I mean, it said
Yeah,
May,
May.
Did it say May?
but that's what I'd seem like it's 2. I mean, when would we do these meetings? Would we do them during a tech meeting?
Yeah,
Or would
They
we
probably have to be separate.
do it as a separate meeting? And we could do it a virtual that way, that
Mhm.
if everyone could dial in.
I'm wondering too, if it would make sense for us for them to send us something and for us to review it in between the 2 45-minute scoping meetings with them, so that we're more prepared to give some feedback on the second meeting with them.
Right.
So,
If they can do it, I would like to push the time.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not against that. I'm just, if somebody's actually doing that, and it sounds like you could be part of that, to push that and get it organized and get it, the subcommittee.
I would really like to see an outline of what,
Yes.
I think that's a great idea. What exactly, like, what's the ballpark or
or a sample from another city would that be good enough for you?
Well, I'm not really even sure what, I think they're trying to tailor towards what we want.
Yeah.
But are we sure what areas we wanna key in on?
They're gonna expect us to give them some indication of what we want, and that's really, we gotta know what we want. And I don't know that we necessarily do.
Well, this meeting's agenda is rather light, and I know we want to get done, but we could probably spend 10 minutes to talk about what these things are now.
Yeah, I mean, originally, we were thinking of a, high level overview of what does complete streets mean, to get advocacy from the community to understand, because people say, oh, this is a walkable city, or but they're just throwing out terms. So our idea was, what is complete streets education? But we might want to get more specific, because we're so crosswalking focused, that maybe building really in some crosswalk information that they could help us with, or.
We've talked about it a lot, but does that over focus on something? I mean, we're trying to solve a problem, but it's not probably the only one.
Right.
We just haven't gotten to other things.
But if we could do follow-on meetings with them, I feel like a starter meeting with like a complete streets,
right.
kind of what does that
Well-
term mean and what makes complete streets and.
One thing that just kind of stood out to me from the SS4A meeting that Eric and I were at for, I guess it was February, was so they did their survey and I think they were relatively happy with the results, but what they claimed is that they did not get any or got very little response from 18 to 25 or 26 and then 65 plus. And they felt like that was a deficiency in the polling. In other words, they basically got no feedback from these two relatively important demographics. So I wonder, should that be part of our target? If we're doing community outreach, should we be trying to engage those demographics? Should that be part of what we're trying to do? And I don't know how we do that.
As a side note, I thought that was interesting. I sent it to both my kids, and my son, who's 16 but doesn't drive, was like, I can't fill this out. It's kind of
What?
geared towards drivers. The survey was, so
Mhm.
just as a side note, he's like, I don't go around all these, well, and because you don't go around as many areas if you're not driving, so, but
I'm not surprised
kids
at the
filled it
younger group, but I am sort of
I'm not
surprised
either.
at that older group.
I was too.
They didn't,
When I think of that demographic, I usually think they're gonna respond to surveys, they're more involved.
right.
but electronic surveys.
So I don't know, I mean, what do we try to outreach to the community? What's the?
Well, do they, I mean, I've been going to ask this question and not gotten it out. No one's fault mine, but are they going to reopen the survey? Under what circumstances? When? Do we coordinate with them on that? Is it better to not coordinate with that? I mean, what happens? If they want to get that age group, they'll have to reopen it or they won't have it.
I think they are doing, it's not gonna be anything related to us, but they will, I believe they're planning on doing another survey, isn't that right, Eric? Isn't that part of the deal, like, there's a second survey at some, right?
I don't know the direction of that, but I do know that they're kind of focusing on the environmental studies at this point to get the approval for the demonstration projects. That's kind of the next step.
Is the survey feedback on the demonstration projects? Is it way later?
It might,
in the
that's what I was just
process?
gonna, I think they might be doing that, and again, the biggest thing with SS4A, and she pointed out, she said at every meeting, so I guess it just took a few to sink in with me, but I kept thinking about these demonstration projects. I kept thinking SS4A is about these demonstration projects. If the demonstration projects work, SS4A will do more, and it's all about the demos. It's not. The SS4A is about the plan that they're gonna write and submit to get the implementation grant. That's the target, that's the product, and that's what they're focusing. So when you think about what is the product they're trying to achieve, what's the target? The target is putting together that comprehensive
And
SS4A plan.
I think that they know how those grants get awarded,
Yeah.
so they're trying to do the things that let it win. Right?
Probably, I would
And if
think
it's
so.
not about that, they're probably like, look, don't waste my time on something that isn't about
Well,
us winning this grant.
and I think part of that is that, I think one, that's why they don't necessarily, they're a little cautious about us getting involved in their space, because they've got very targeted specific things they're trying to achieve. And also, that's not really, as the TAC, I think, that's super narrow for us. We actually have a broader mission and target.
I wonder if the question is, do we want to educate about what complete streets are? Or do we want to educate about what people can do and how their behaviors are? And I kind of lean more towards the second one, that if TrailNet could come in and say, as a citizen today, these are things you can do. Because I kind of feel like there's probably like enough people with ideas, and the point about crosswalks and saying we need a crosswalk here or we need this, as opposed to saying this is how, as a citizen, you interact to promote the idea of the street and how you keep your area clean, how you drive, stuff like that.
Well, and I was kind of like, do you think there's people in our community that just haven't thought about the fact that they could hop on their bike or put on their shoes and walk to their destination rather than get in their car? Is that something that somebody needs to be told that that's something they can do? I don't know.
I don't think it's something they need to be told, but I think probably what they need to be told is how you can make it easier and better for someone to do that. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, it's just thinking how people interact.
With the nice weather, as I was riding my bike, but I was thinking, what might be a fun exercise for us to do somewhere here is somebody throw out where they live, and then somebody else throw out a random destination in Webster. And we all look on the satellite and say, if you were on your bike or walking, what's the best way for you to get there? that might just be a fun exercise for us to do sometime, because that might be part of what, sometimes people just think, oh, that's too far away, I gotta get in the car.
I'll
Whereas,
also point out that this, what we're talking about now, a little bit overlaps with the comprehensive plan that they're working on too. They took a lot of feedback through the public on transportation around the community, both non-motorized and motorized. And so they're getting, because I started to think of like, it'd be good to gather feedback from people on the barriers right now to walking and biking. But that kind of information is being gathered to some degree through the comprehensive plan.
And I think us gathering information might not be, I think we wanna do a broad brush education. I think we have SS4A, we have the comprehensive plan that's really doing some professional targeted gathering of info. We're not really set up
yeah,
for that.
Yeah,
And I think, I think our goal is, if it's not stepping on the feet of SS4A, is really to do that high level education discussions about what are complete streets, what cities are implementing it, how are they doing it, what have they done, what are some of those specifics? Like Jason said, I think that would be interesting to me. But maybe not everybody.
Well, and I think I agree with you that we're never going to get good input from the public if the public doesn't understand the question. And we need to get that base level of education, understanding of what we're proposing, and then see what the response is. That will guide us.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you.
I think some of the education that we're trying to deliver is also TAC is here, TAC exists,
Yeah.
communicate with us. And here's what we think we're trying to achieve. So here, work with us on these things. Is that,
yeah.
it's not just, here's TrailNet, have fun, we really want them to come to these meetings and talk. I mean,
Mhm.
tell
well,
us or
and Trailnet does this for a living. They might have some ideas of what to present, or what gets the most response out of people, or what generates the most engagement too. I would be interested to hear what they say about that.
People like pictures, dot exercises, like we can do, well, they do all that stuff, but yeah, that's what we've seen.
So then what would, our next step with them is for them to be a little more specific on the agenda? Is that what I'm hearing?
I guess maybe we need to decide, I don't know. I mean, is this something we want to pursue as TAC for our community outreach?
I'm in favor.
Is that a vote? I mean, do we need to have a vote on that? then,
Let's
or-
take a vote,
I think so.
make a motion.
I'll make a motion. Do we proceed with negotiating with, Trailnet based upon their proposal this evening?
Second,
One quick discussion before we vote. Do we need to get a bid
There's no other
for something like
contractors.
that? Right.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, there we can contract out.
It's,
with our-
yeah, I think it's a small enough amount of money that it doesn't meet the threshold.
Yeah, plus there isn't anybody else doing it,
Yeah.
so they're sole source.
All right,
So,
Thank you for asking to be aware of that. Though.
yeah, and I mean, I guess we might find, I mean, it's just, I think the vote is, do we want to proceed down this road and start negotiating, we gotta get a formal bid of contract, not a bid, but a contract at least.
and get these 45-minute sessions on.
Set up, yeah,
Yep.
and I vote aye.
All in favor? Yep. Opposed? All right. Excellent, subcommittee. And that really goes right into our main focus tonight is our annual work plan. Thanks for those that provided some feedback on the draft that I sent out.
Can we finish something up on this?
Yes,
So we'll proceed. They will give us this, probably either an outline or a sample that we can work against to have some concept of what we're going to receive. I'd like to do that by email and share that. And then probably by email, can we vote to go ahead and proceed legit, like actually enter a contract, or do we have to meet at a meeting like this?
I guess, okay, so we just voted to proceed based on the terms that, negotiating and setting up, so someone needs to respond, or I mean, I can do, I don't know how that, does it need to be a Webster Groves employee that
I think you need to copy the chief on everything so
yep.
that it's an official Webster email.
Should I
just
copy
going
everyone?
forward. You can if you want to, that would be fine.
I'll copy everyone.
So I think we didn't vote to say we're entering a contract, but that it's worth our time to keep going forward.
Yeah,
So I might suggest though, since you're working on a timeline, you may vote to empower the subcommittee with the staff liaison to enter into the contract. That we don't have to wait till the next meeting.
So maybe we should-
So someone should make that motion, you can have that vote.
I said, should I say it out loud? I move that we, well, okay, actually, I'd rather not move on it because I'm on subcommittee.
That's all right. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna.
Well, I move that we empower the subcommittee to, what did you say, sign the, or
To-
to agree?
Engage in the.
with their
Yeah.
copy, CC
Yes.
on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I second.
You could- does that work?
And Rob, I think one of the things, and Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, that, the city attorney recommended us not doing email type votes,
No, you cannot do it. That's why I suggested
Right.
empowering the subcommittee.
that we don't do voting over email for various reasons. But
Thanks
that's,
for the reminder.
yeah. I mean, I know you weren't at that meeting.
So we'll do that then. We'll get together, the subcommittee will get together and do a formal response to that email. Get that.
The committee has been you, Jason, and myself. And Carrie.
And Eric.
And
No, I was gonna say we need to add Eric.
I don't remember Carrie
I
was.
don't think I'm on it.
I was pointing at Eric.
Yeah.
It's like,
You missed a meeting.
So far, you can just take credit.
good job.
Yeah, instead of just CC, Eric should just be on the committee.
Well, I guess I'm wondering, would anyone like the committee composition to change?
I don't know, you guys are moving forward. I appreciate it.
Eric is not actually voting on that. So just
It's
still only have, yeah.
He just said, he's just the muscle. You should have seen it. He was ready to kick the door down for that sustainability. It was awesome.
That would have been a surprise.
He could have done it. He knows how.
And moving on.
Yeah,
All right.
Let's all remember, this is all recorded.
Yes. The only thing really with our annual report, we have, the city has asked for, target dates for us to shoot for goals, our goals of completion dates. So, our subcommittee that came up with our goals, and we have our three main goals and this is, the first one is really what we just talked about, is work progresses on this as for a grant. TAC will strive to get a head start by educating ourselves, our Webster staff and community about proposed safe street initiatives. So this is really our educational plan as our first goal. And I think we would shoot to have that, are we shooting to have that complete by
Yes.
July 1?
Mhm.
That's our goal.
Yes.
But this is next year's plan. So July 1 is like one day into the fiscal year. Do we want
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
When does it have to be presented?
this?
Can be presented whenever, as long as the funds are paid out before July 1st.
I mean,
That would take care of.
what do you mean? You mean this? Your
Annual report, yes.
So we presented the draft. They have it.
Okay.
March 15th is when it was due, so last Friday. We won't be presenting it to a work session probably until
April first.
April 1st.
April first, you guys are on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay. How fitting is it that the traffic advisory.
April
Commission-
Fool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Not be knocking on the
So
door.
this is our meeting to finalize.
Yes.
Mayor, the same process as last time where clerk would get up in front and just give a brief overview of what we're doing in front of council members and same thing as we did last year.
That is the plan,
Okay.
and we will have, every council member will receive all the reports in advance. And I'm trying to hold feet to the fire to make sure they're studied beforehand, so it really can be about question and answer. What will then happen is we have scheduled I think it's the second May meeting, maybe it's the first May meeting, for council discussions within the context of the budget of all the board and commission budgets. So sometime after that May meeting of council, you'll get a letter from me that explains what your budget is for the upcoming year. Are there particular items on your work plan that we really want you to focus on? Are there things we don't want on there? Are there things that we would like added to your work plan? And we're gonna try and do a little bit better job of providing feedback to you all this time.
So I would say, since our goal last year was this education, that's completed July 1st. We are asking for continuing of this for next year is what our one budget request is so far. And so I would say phase 1 is 24-25, phase 2 is 25-26. That we'll see how that goes and we'll do further, follow up next year. And more in depth perhaps.
Yep.
So I would say, so for our 26 work plan, that I would think that really by September 1, we have our plan for that next year complete. Does that sound reasonable?
For our education portion, yeah. I just speaking for the committee for a little bit too much maybe, but I feel we're getting this education program laid out this year and we'll make it before the end of the year. And if not, we might go a few weeks in, but I think we'll be done. And then next year we actually present the thing 4 times, do it.
Right.
Would be what I would personally hope. Okay. Jason.
Then our next goal was, due to much discussion about crosswalks within TAC, including during public comments, TAC will attempt to assist the community in productive discussions on this issue. TAC will research various solutions and prepare a community white paper. This sounds like Chris talk here. Listing various alternatives, their relative costs, strengths, and weaknesses. So I think what I'm hearing, this goal is that we will really sort of present a crosswalk white paper with different options, different costs associated with the goal of the city implementing it at some point and being able to each year budget perhaps 5 crosswalk upgrades in this category and 2 in this, or I'm thinking a little bit ahead.
Well, when I put this together, what was on my mind was that many times we have people come to this meeting and make an appeal, but we have no response. We have no options to share with them.
Right.
We're not prepared. So why don't we put together a vision of the various options that we could support and anticipate the question instead of sitting here, looking foolish when the question comes.
And I beat a dead horse, but I walk a lot and our streets aren't safe.
No,
They aren't.
I walk a lot too.
They
And
aren't.
bike.
Yeah. They really aren't. And I think there's some design and some things we can do to improve education and stuff that can help that.
Right.
I think if we all went out into to the public and talked to people, they think, I live on Sherwood, it's safe, it's great, I love it, it's not a problem. Naively, they're saying that, right? And so there are places that are fine, and then there are traffic arteries that are not fine, right? I think that education can help be explaining some of that. And I'm very personally, I feel like, could we do some education things about honor crosswalks? And I know this has probably been a thing for 100 years of people constantly needing to re-educate about crosswalks, but our generation needs it.
Well, and again, it's regional. There's some parts of the country you go to, and you put a toe out there and a car stop.
I was actually gonna bring this up because I have, at the end of my street, there's a RRFB where you push the button and you get the lights. And I watched a woman as I was pulling out, walk up, push the button, 2 cars drove past. And even the first one had plenty of time to stop. They just drove right past her and I thought, is this something like on the Friday page, we could send out like a reminder, this is how crosswalk, this is
Right.
Missouri law, or something like that, like if there are ways to start peppering some of this education.
Well, I would suggest that we need to have a crosswalk subcommittee that's working on this.
It's probably not a bad idea.
We have an education subcommittee. I think we need to have a crosswalk one, but the goal to develop this next year, this white paper.
From our discussions, crosswalks cost so much. And even when they're put in place, they're ignored, even with the best possible mechanisms. And so it's like, can we make crosswalk week? And can we have the banners that go across the street? It's crosswalk week. Make sure you want a crosswalk. I'm making up ideas, but
That's not a bad idea.
people don't get it. I mean, at Frisco and the other restaurant across the street, people are constantly walking in a faded out
Oh,
crosswalk,
yeah.
which is not the
Yes.
crosswalk's fault. People should be stopping. For goodness sakes, what kind of community do you live in?
Right.
You know, can we put banners, put signs in the windows of every store? Watch crosswalks, you know, just the things. I mean, the business owners would probably be in favor of it because it's,
Carrie,
So I've been kind of wondering, waiting to see if we go. Springfield, Missouri, just about 2 years ago, started a whole plan that's called Safe Across. And they have it's a whole system of education and improvements and awareness that they've been rolling out for a couple of years now. It's great, but they will give a toolbox to a community that wants one, because their whole goal is to help this system and this spread. They've seen really good results.
So Safe Across helping Springfield or Safe Across is Springfield's?
It's the city of Springfield. It's a pedestrian safety kind of campaign.
So
I
they,
guess.
they will share the toolbox they've
Yes,
used.
yes,
For free?
but it has to, yes, the request, I don't know if like.
you have to come visit Springfield.
No, in fact, I got a tiny little toolbox, like a little McDonald's, Happy Meal box with some
I'll ask you.
keychains and things in it. I think I asked them, or I looked it up at one point. I think the request might have to come from the city. But we could do more research and see, what exactly that would mean. But it's pretty fascinating. They've done some really
That could
great
be really
awareness
neat.
videos where they've interviewed the unhoused who have a lot of problems with
I saw they started
pedestrian safety.
a bike train to school.
Mhm.
And
Oh, what a cool idea.
it's all the kids biking to trip.
Yeah.
They have parents and stuff involved, so they have the bike train every
This is
day
Springfield?
Yeah.
This is great.
to school.
And they just have fun awareness. They have little sculpture statues that they've been putting up around town. It's just a little pedestrian with a heart cut out. And it's just kind of that whole little, and they don't leave them there permanently, but it just is that awareness campaign that they've been doing to kind of exactly what we're saying, kind of reinforce and make sure everybody knows
that.
that it's a goal. So I can do some more digging and find out how we find out more, if we can get a toolbox, or they have a really great website though. It's just safeacross.com. If anybody has time, I can reply to Eric's email and send it.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
So, realistically, year starts July 1st. When do you think we could have a white paper? Like 6 months after that? Is that
I think that's plenty of time.
plenty of time and a good goal, and hopefully we
Yeah.
need it?
Yeah.
So you have August, September, October, November, December,
You know,
by Thanksgiving.
whatever.
Can you clarify, this is something we give people who come here to speak? Or,
So what I'm trying to do is to create a standard.
okay,
And that standard would say, if you have a problem with a crosswalk, here are a variety of solutions.
okay,
Based on how big the problem is, how many kids, how much traffic, we need to set some criteria, but the idea would be, if it's a little problem, it needs a little solution. If it's a bigger problem, it needs a bigger solution. Here are the various solutions, and we have an estimated cost for that. So that when people come
so you're just
forward.
talking about crosswalks, so not the people who
Yes.
come for parking or?
No, I'm
something
just
like-
talking
Okay,
crosswalks right now.
okay.
And this could evolve. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
as we,
Yeah.
but I think what I'm hearing is sort of a standard or
Yeah,
levels,
right.
and perhaps education is part of that too.
Mhm.
So I think it makes sense to have a subcommittee. I'd be more than happy to join you on that, Carrie. I don't know.
I would love to
I can help.
participate, but
Yep. So,
I'll make a motion to form a subcommittee
okay,
and include that you're the head.
or Chris is the head.
Okay.
Chris, do
You're right.
you mind?
No, no, I don't, not mine at all.
Volunteer.
I can get past
Just getting
them.
volunteered, yeah.
Chris would be the head, we'll get, I can't remember what our number is, that we're not supposed to have more than,
Yeah, more than half. What's the total number?
so we have,
More than half watch.
Two,
Okay,
size of people.
8. Well, we have
The
7
subcommittee has to
members
be
and an
less than
alternate.
half.
Yeah, an alternate.
So quorum would be 4.
So we can only have 3.
Did I hear you over there? Okay, thank you.
So 3 on the
3
subcommittee.
subcommittees, just fine.
We'll all talk about that.
Okay.
Get that. Great. Great motion. Then by Thanksgiving, we want to have that plan.
The plan two.
The
Oh,
white
no,
paper.
yeah, the white paper. Okay. Got it.
All right, and then our last goal was improve, clarify, publicize the communication process between citizens and tech. This seems to come up every year. Including how to raise issues, how to move through the process, and resolution and closure.
Can you add those goals to the agenda next time?
They'll be on our, those goals will be on our 25 plan.
I think that is important to get back to people who come
Mhm.
here and sort of say this and that, but then we don't really follow up very well.
Well, on that, I mean, most people who come here, follow-up ends up being from staff. Right, because they now have the system in which, right, it's entered into Magnet, which is our system for tracking and making sure that follow-up comes.
Is that a new term, magnet?
That's just the name of the program. I think it's not a new. I just tend to name it
You've
because,
used it before.
yeah, it's been used for years now.
And this
No,
differs
you
from the
used it
fix it
before.
form.
I
The
did.
fixed,
Yeah.
so the fix-it form is the
You
conduit
put
by
that-
which
you submitted
information
a
goes to
form to me
Magnet.
through Magnet, and I responded back to you.
Oh,
You
okay.
tested the system,
Okay.
and I responded back to you about the parking issue. All of it.
And just
Okay.
as an aside here, for a while, Magnet was largely used in the planning department and it's more, I mean, citywide, staff is getting more training. So I think we'll have more people who have access to it, so things can move more smoothly through the process.
I think I've kind of went over this a couple of times, I'll explain it one more time. People will either email or send, call or email. And I respond to those depending on what the request is. Sometimes I'll pass it to Sanan to respond if I think it's more appropriate for him to respond. Whether it's a speeding complaint or a stop sign issue or something like that, so I'll pass it to
They're calling the police department?
they'll call up and say, they'll call whoever, dispatcher, they'll talk to an officer, who do I need to talk to? And then I get referred to them. Typically it comes through email. I have a running spreadsheet where I keep those complaints listed. If it's something that rises to the level where I think it needs to attack, I will then refer it to TAC.
Okay.
A lot of times these issues can be handled by staff before it ever needs to come here. If it's a more complex issue, for example, the parking on Marshall Place, I brought that to TAC, or the yield sign at Holbrook and so those are the ones where,
The crosswalk on Kirkham
correct,
in Denver.
correct. So,
And
yeah,
these are the things that we used to call the fix-it form.
that is another way that I receive the complaint, whether I get it through email or through the fix-it form. I then kind of filter through, I'll either work with Sanan or back.
I've done fix it form a couple of times in the past year and I never get a
Right,
response.
I did one too,
Yeah, and I
about
never,
8 months ago.
yeah.
Well,
But it
was I
wasn't-
on
it
this
wa-
board 8 months ago?
No, but it wasn't for this, it wasn't
No.
for tech, mine was about
No.
streetlight.
But what I'm saying, well, okay,
Well, sometimes they'll just fix it.
Well,
Right,
yeah.
I had to go check and it was done, but
now, I'm
I,
not saying I answer every fix-it form request,
Right.
I answer the ones that go related to traffic-related offenses.
Exactly, right.
and
I
this
don't-
was not.
Yeah, the,
Yeah.
those are filtered through a different.
I think
it's the
our
same program. different-
question is just, are those people getting responded to?
Yes,
That I can't answer to, I can only answer to the
Right.
things that I assume that Sanan could probably speak to that a little better because he oversees public works in general, and I know that they get a lot of those requests and they do address them.
So one of the things with the magnet training and I think there's another level that magnet is gonna serve us now that will actually take the place of Fix-It forms. And so we won't have any more Fix-It, but there will be a portal, a way to enter requests on the website that will go directly to Magnet. Magnet will be our common work order management software that every one of us, all the departments will use. But the circling back to the request, there was actually one of the items that we raised with Magnet. Hey, how can we make this happen more efficiently? That helps us, it helps the requester as well as it helps us because then we know that we address the problem sufficiently. Sometimes we don't know, we address internal facilities issues as well. Our fire department submits something related to their firehouse, a problem that we believe that we have fixed, but we may not have fixed it to their satisfaction. So that's going to be important. I think it's going to be built into our Magnet, new Magnet, the new updated version of Magnet, and the Fix-It will go away at that time. So there was that other thing between the Magnet, Fix-It, and Magnet that needed a translation that we will get rid of that also.
So this was great. This is really good. I understand that if a citizen comes to you or someone else in the organization, that can come to you through that way. I think what we're specifically interested in are those where an individual comes and speaks to us. How do we?
You should refer them to those different metrics, whether it's either contact me directly or fill out just go to the city website and you can fill out the Magnet.
So if they come here in their 3 minutes, say, I have an issue with the speeding on southbound, because we don't usually respond to public comments.
Right.
Right.
So they just say it.
Do we just hand them one of these forms and they fill it out and give it to you? Is that what that work?
You can just direct them to go online and fill out that work order request.
Okay.
Or you can just tell them to contact me through my email, which you all have, and I'll respond to them.
That's fine. That'll work.
Or could
Now-
we just have a form, and maybe we can't do this, so thank you for addressing TAC. Here is what you need to do next. Just a follow through with an email so that they know they've been
Address us
heard.
directly, we have an obligation to respond.
Exactly,
Well,
that's how
I
feel.
would say like maybe in an email afterwards or something. I think
That's-
if you start
So-
to engage,
Yeah.
it would
Yeah,
get
so
messy
I,
sometimes.
it's pretty murky waters for you all to start treating public comments differently than other boards and commissions in the council.
Okay.
Because there's a consistency there, and I'll be honest, if you get in the habit of wanting to respond to everyone, people are gonna all expect you to respond, and sometimes you're not gonna have an answer, you're not gonna like what they say.
Or they're like what we said.
They're not gonna like what you say.
I was
and
thinking more
so-
of a form
Yeah,
thing, that
But
just so
I
they know
think,
they were
I mean, I
heard.
think Sanan and Eric are here, and you all are pretty good following up with people, even when they come to the meeting to make some sort of complaint, and maybe it's as simple as handing them a business card. I don't think I don't think we need to overcomplicate this with more forms when they're readily available means for that.
Just want to make sure they
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's perfectly appropriate for the chair to say to someone during public comment that, in order for this to get, cataloged with the city, you need to contact the chief, or you need to contact the director.
Okay.
Rarely does it ever come in through public comment. Usually starts through a complaint through dispatch when an officer
I mean-
responds or.
Maybe part of our education outreach should be letting people know about this.
Yeah.
I have no issue with advertising the ways to file a suggestion for TAC.
Well, so for the
It wouldn't be
education.
for TAC though, it'd just be to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, there has to be a filter method, and Sanan and I are the method of filter.
Yeah.
What rises to the level, again, I could give you examples like, somebody wanted an extra parking sign, that doesn't need to come to tag
Right.
to add an additional parking sign to an area that's already zoned for a parking sign. That was a recent one. I can't think of any other ones even.
And I imagine if one slips through the cracks, or whatever, they're gonna reach back out.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
try to
think-
be pretty good about responding because I don't want to be unresponsive. Like, somebody asked me about the crosswalk at Cedar now because that's a hot topic. And I again explained that the SS4A and the demonstration project. And once that data is collected and then the implementation, I also explained about the cost of crosswalks. And I'm not opposed to the idea, but I think that's coming with what you guys are working towards anyway.
Right.
If you identify that as an area. How we procure that funding for that is another challenge that comes through council and all that. as
I mean,
well.
I've responded
guess-
to several social media comments saying that SS4 exists.
Yeah, so keep in mind, you all are a policy advisory group. You're not a constituent relations group. And so, you know,
You may not want to interact.
well, I mean, you want to set the policies that are appropriate. Public comment is feedback for you in making your decisions
Right.
on
Or
policy.
recommendations.
It's not, yeah, it's not something that you should, I mean, that's really their job and my job more than it's your job.
So the education subcommittee had determined that we would take a few minutes to talk about what is TAC before TrailNet starts their work on complete streets. And we can talk to them about, here's how we work, here's how you can submit things, here's how you can comment, and here's how we'll respond to comment. We can tell people how it works.
And you know what? I think on the website, we have a page, our board has a page. And I think what I'm hearing here is we don't need to come with, here's how we feedback. We need to educate. We need to have outlets of how we're interacting and what our roles are. And I think on our TAC webs page, we should have if you have a suggestion, here's where you go.
Which is a link to your magnet.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because I think you hear that, well, I think the education of what, and it's very clear, and you need to remind us too, what our role is from time to time, because that's helpful.
We can go look at the webpage.
But again, if you look at, and it's on our goals here, what the ordinance number 8369, section 3, then that, we are an advisory capacity to city council management, pertaining to Travis. So that's really our main function, is to advise council and then move on to the next thing that we advise.
And I would say that I think in the last, I think that the committee has done a lot of good things in a short amount of time. We're meeting now consistently. We are actually checking off boxes in the agenda. We don't have that running list that we used to have when I took over the different colors and right. So I think we're
Process guy.
Careful, that hurts.
I'm just saying, I think that we are getting better and more efficient, and we will continue to do so. I'm not going anywhere. so.
Well, and I like it when, I communicate with chief before the agenda comes out. Do you have anything for us? And no, and that always, to me, means they take care of it.
No, that's great.
Yes.
So I appreciate it.
Where are we on the agenda?
We're at 7, number 2.
Okay,
We really diverged into sort of higher level progression there.
No, we're at 7, number 2, and we're almost done with that. So we're almost done. Actually, that was the last.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you and I are looking at the work
Okay,
plan.
yeah.
So I will rewrite that bullet number 3. I'll get this to them before April Fool's Day.
No, you better be before
I know.
that.
I'll do it this week.
I know where to find you.
Yeah, I know. And just say that we'll be educating, how to respond to tag issues.
And that's a city council meeting we need to attend, April 1st.
You need one representative to give a presentation. You're welcome to attend. It's gonna be a long night with lots of boards and commissions. I don't know the order yet, so you might wanna wait and decide about attending.
Bring a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
All right. Aaron, we're at number 8. We had nothing for new business. And so number 9 is city updates.
I'm gonna be really quick today. We already talked about the April 1st board and commission presentations. We do also this for our upcoming meeting, which is tomorrow night. We will get some information back from staff leadership on our strategic plan and implementation of the parts of our strategic plan. Including, and I don't know whether it'll be available right away, but should be available relatively soon, which is, it will be a dashboard on the website where you can check up on our work and see what kind of progress is being made to implement the strategic plan items. And that's really all I've got.
I have a question. Last time you talked about there was gonna be a presentation on
Stormwater.
no housing development.
So, their comprehensive, oh yeah, there was a presentation. Yeah, sorry, I forgot Sam's presentation. It wasn't, it was on tear downs and
Yeah.
infill housing. So that is available in the work session video or whatever the date of our last meeting was, March 4th. Is that what it would be? Yeah. And she is preparing a written report to be distributed to the Plan Commission as well as the council. So when that's available, I'll let you all know too, so you can see that.
This is the webpage. It's got our names. It's got my contact information. Lieutenant, that's not right, but, and then you can report a concern. It's right here, fix it. So it's just educating people on the process.
And the fix
Excellent.
it it's also it's anything, safety or a tree limb or.
Yeah, it can be whatever, and then it gets kind of, he'll get emails and we'll figure out who's responding to.
So when I
Plan.
filled mine out, my question was on street lights, because there's one over a bus stop that's been out for about 2 years over on Lockwood near Bompard. And my question was, is that a city thing or is that an Ameren thing or is that who does it? Is it a city?
There are some city lights, but that particular one is Ameren, I believe.
It is.
So I think we need to add that type of information also to the website, because actually the complainant or the requester can look and there is labels and the lights, and according to that, you will know what light, and then there's a process for calling in.
It's
to
too dark. I
ambulance.
couldn't see anything.
No.
Did you go back
It
to
was there at
sleep?
night.
I couldn't deal on my phone because I couldn't see
That's
the.
right. But that one's an Ameren one?
I believe so, and I'll confirm.
Okay, because it's a solar one, I think.
Well, it isn't.
Yeah.
It
doesn't.
doesn't work.
That's true.
Oh, no. So
One other update, Webster Groves High School basketball team is playing the state semifinals Wednesday night in Columbia, Missouri.
Wow.
I can't go because we have an important film screening at the Webster Press that night, but if they win, then I will go on Thursday night.
6 p.m. game time.
Wednesday is
Wednesday.
6 and Thursday night is 8 p.m.
Didn't know that yet.
Late drive home
One-
from Columbia.
Yeah.
But this is a really fun team to watch. I went down to Sykeston to see the game Saturday, and it was about the best high school basketball you can experience. You know, my wife's not a basketball fan, so she doesn't go with me. When we were dating, I asked if she wanted to go to a basketball game, and she said, "Why do I want to do that? I've already been to a basketball game." So that's my life as solo in the basketball arena. But they are so much fun to watch, and I just really hope they go all the way.
They were the underdogs too in that,
Yeah.
like, I think significant underdog.
They
from
were
what I understood.
underdogs
Yeah.
because it was, that Sykeston has a 1,800 seat gym
Yeah.
that was packed. I was sitting in enemy territory. And
But their record this season was.
their record was
Great.
phenomenal. We had
Yeah.
3 common opponents and they really beat all 3 of them by a lot and we
Barely.
barely beat. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I thought that was gonna be probably the toughest game, although we play Westminster Wednesday night and they're tough. We only beat them by 2, so. Anyway, that's my plug for Wednesday night. We're off the rails again, Aaron. Sorry about that. Does anyone else have anything to share? Anything else to share? I really appreciate all of you. And our attendance is
Yeah, what's
awesome.
parking lot?
Parking lot is stuff that we park there we want to bring back up at a
Basketball game.
later.
I did have one quick thing for y'all from my previous meeting, just so you, if you want to put on your calendar, there will be an electric vehicle event in the parking lot out here on April 19th, 10 to noon.
It's not a burning.
No, they're bringing,
Let's check it.
they're bringing a wide variety of electric and plug-in hybrid from different
Maybe.
manufacturers for people to
So
come
when
take a
is that
look.
gonna
It's,
Who's
April
the they?
19th. That's the Sustainability Commission's putting it together.
Oh, okay.
19th from 10 to noon.
Cool.
And I suspect they have strong feelings as a group.
Excellent. Well, hearing nothing else, I really appreciate everyone taking some time out. Have fun wherever you're going.
Thank you.
Are you gonna share or is it a surprise?
Oh, we're going to a movie. But I have to be there on time.
You're allowed to have a life and be on a board here.
Excellent. All right. Well, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.